Ryan Servatius, fourth generation, 47 years old, 2 kids graduated, live and work here, play here, manager broker of the Century 21 in South Haven, and owner of Big Blue Rentals. Besides that, my role is I have a page called Things to Do in South Haven. I use to promote different businesses, new chefs, new restaurants, any attraction, parks, to try and let people know what's out there and what's new. Grew up here, graduated South Haven Ram, and went to Western. Came back here after school and worked for a couple years as a chemical engineer at the local pharmaceutical plant. Decided that's not for me, chemistry, and got into real estate. And 20 years later, I'm still doing it. So got into real estate in 2002 to the T. I think it was right about this time, give or take a month, and did it for years. And I had people who bought from me and they wanted to rent it out. And the biggest reason they wanted to rent them out was they wanted to eventually move here full time and make that their retirement home. To get there quicker, they wanted to use the income to pay down our high property taxes. We have a high mill rate here. And then be able to also allow other people to use it, which is great because those who are vacation here now not only take care of the house because they're in it, so we make sure nothing's going on like a roof leak or anything like that, but they're also enjoying the beaches, the parks, coming downtown, marinas, go to the shops, restaurants, and it helps keep our downtown busy. I went and started Things to Do in South Haven Facebook page, and then that grew into a point where people are going, okay, this is a new store opening up, this is a new restaurant, here's an interview with the chef, here's something that you guys want to try here, and here's a new park. And we got into rentals that way, and we started taking care of our clients, and we've noticed there's been a shift. Since COVID, more people want to stay here long term, work mobile, but generally most of them are still the same. They're people who bought here, want to retire here, they rent when they're not using it. The renters come here, they enjoy it. And what's funny is, after about the third or fourth time you rent to a family, they want to buy here and do the same thing. They fall in love with it. So it's usually about the third or fourth year that they say, you know what, I could see our family being here. So the economic impact for South Haven and other communities like South Haven, such as Saugatuck, Douglas, and up on the shoreline, they're very small communities. They're very isolated when you compare them to larger ones like Kalamazoo, Grand Rapids, even St. John Ben Harbor with Whirlpool. What they have is they have an infrastructure, they have housing, and they have availability of workers already there. They're also large enough they can get tax abatements and other help from the feds or the state to help draw in those businesses. We don't have that here. What we have is, everything to the west is gone because it's a lake. So we much have the east, south, and north. But it's been great because when people come here, they like the charm of a small town. A lot of people say, well, short-term rentals are here and they're using all of our resources. Our water bills are high in the summer, all that's being used. But take that away because it's really still primarily June, July, August. We're getting into more September now as more people are coming for the color tours, the vineyards, the orchards, like that. If it's a nice fall, people keep coming along weekends. Now, do I want an STR in every block or every home? No, because you still have to have your community. I know, just speaking for my company, most of our renters are family-based. You either have couples that come in on the falls, they're empty nesters, or young couples who don't have kids yet. But in the summertime, we see a lot of multi-generational families. So the mom and dad come in with the kids and the grandparents, and they run an entire house, which is great. We have a few others, which is even, it's heart-tugging because you always hear about the partiers. Well, South Haven is not Vegas. If you're partying, you come to South Haven, you're going to Vegas. The guys are probably going to Vegas. We get more of older crowd here. They call it a retirement community. I wouldn't call it just that yet, but we are probably, if you see majority of the rentals coming in, they're way out 35, 45, 55 plus. But to get back to the number of them, I think South Haven does it great. So when South Haven did theirs, I think it was 2016 or 18. Maybe it was 18. When we put that together, it was so well received, other communities actually took it and tweaked it to themselves. And what I like about it is it's a 1-to-4 ratio. So if our population goes up, the number can go up. If it goes down, the number goes down. And I believe it's very healthy and very well done when it's managed correctly. And the city's done an exceptional job of laying out the rules and guidelines, the good neighbor policy. We remind people, hey, when you're here, you might have to get up tomorrow at 5 o'clock in the morning. So I got to remember that, and I want to make sure I respect you as my neighbor and go to bed early, or at least keep it down so I'm not hooting and hollering or partying in the backyard. When you bring a family in here, it's like test driving a car. You're test driving our community. You're not living in this house for a week. You're seeing what's all involved and all the great things about it. So when you go back home, you get a exit interview from us that we send out going, hey, you liked it here. You've been here a few years. Could you see your family living here full time? And then we can follow up with getting them South Haven Public School information so they can check that out if they say yes. Or if not, we just remind them, hey, if you change your mind, we'd love to have you in our community. So South Haven, if you look through historically, it's primarily always been a resort town. Now, there was a short period between the 50s, 60s, and 70s where we had a lot of industry come in. Well, the industry's gone, it's never coming back. It just won't. What I would love to see is there's surrounding communities. I mean, we have a ton of cheap property to the south of us in Covert Township. We have a power plant there. We had 2 power plants until last week when Palisades shut down. You have a highway system right there, and you got Chicago and Detroit in between. It's cheap property, it's sand. It'd be a great spot if you had somebody like Boeing or other corporations come in, they could put stuff there and you could draw in the workers. But like you said, the problem we have is drawing in the businesses and how do we get industry? That's a 20-plus-year-old, 30-year-old question that they're trying to solve, and there's no easy answer to it because you still have to go up against Holland, Grand Rapids, Kalamazoo, Detroit, and Chicago when you're going to relocate your business. And how can you get what you need in the support through housing workers? I mean, look at Whirlpool. Great area. That's a beautiful area down there, and they're having trouble getting young talent to move to that area, which to me, I'm biased. I love the lake. But some people were noticing, and I did relocation for 5 years, and everyone who we did relocation for, they either bought in Holland, Matawan, or St. Joe. And when I asked them why didn't they buy here, the biggest concern they said was, Ryan, we love your 3 restaurants in February, and we love your 2 beaches in the summer, but we need more shopping. Our kids like to play lacrosse and rugby. You guys don't offer that here. It's a culture shock when you come from a big metropolitan area to such a small town. I mean, think about it. We literally, if you go from the south side to the north side, you're going to go through 2 lights on Broadway. You have one out there on Ellsworth, you have one here, and you go over the bridge. So it literally takes you less than 5 minutes to go across our town. It's pretty small. So how do we get more industry here? Good question. I think, though, we should look for the incubator style or something like that. I don't think we're going to draw back manufacturing. ADUs, accessory dwelling units. A lot of people have a fear that if you put them here, it's a 300 to 600 square foot home that you can put on a lot for small housing. It's efficiency. It's where somewhere you can put a summer worker, it's coming for the months, a new teacher who is moving to the area but not ready to buy and doesn't want to sign a year-long lease, a manager, a nurse, anyone you're thinking about like that. The other way is it's extremely cost prohibitive to move here and build home. City of Kalamazoo is $1,500 to hook up to your water and sewer. It's $23,000 here. I mean, it's out of control. You take that and then you look at your average utility bill. Your average utility bill you get, it's almost $80 a month in fees and recapture before you even turn the water on or turn the electric on. So if you have an average family coming in here and if they make an average of $45,000 to $55,000 a year, they're not building a home because even the builder can't give it to them cheap enough because their cost is prohibitive to even start to try and get attainable housing. So that's one thing we need to start on. We got to find out how we get down the water and sewer assessment. We got to find a way to get down the utility bills. Because when you look at that and you look at other communities, we lose right off the bat. Because number one, it costs high to hook up. But the other thing too is it's a desirable community. The shoreline is it's a place that people desire to be. So the rates are always going to be higher for the price of dirt. And one thing South Haven has shown, at least for the last 20 years, is the retirees really want to be here. And it's hard to get the people who graduate and go to college to come back. Again, industry, jobs, what do you have to offer? And I think is there a way to reach out to them, especially if they're entrepreneurs? That's one way to attract them to come back. How do you do that? I think you got to talk to the state and feds and find out what you can do for small communities. I think the city's zoning is archaic and needs to be changed. You won't sign any new duplexes, no triplexes. It is still got the same, you gotta have this square footage by this house on a single lot. I think that hurts. If you're a young person, you don't need or probably don't want to buy a 4-bedroom, 2-bath home that's been remodeled that's going to cost you $500,000 in town. But if you get a builder and put a triplex up, his now costs are split 3 ways. It makes it more attainable. Overton, I'm not a fan. Strictly, I like the idea. The idea of Overton project is great at the service. But if you dig deep, 61 bedroom units that you can only make $22,000 or $23,000 a year on certain units, the bartenders make more than that in the summertime. So they wouldn't even be able to live there. You have to sign a full year lease. Well, a lot of young people, don't want to live here full time. They might be here for the season. I don't believe it's going to solve what we need for housing. It'll fill up, of course. If you have affordable housing, it's going to fill up. But I don't believe it's like you said, going to fix the issue we have. If you look at all the affordable housing around South Haven, it's more than any other shoreline community that we have our size. I mean, there is a number of them, and they fill up quickly because you're right. People want to live here, but they can't afford it. Well, and then they get stuck in an apartment. You get stuck paying a high rental fees where you could afford a mortgage for less money and build equity for your future. Michigan now has the own house home savings credit you can get now for first-time home buyers that we just got passed, which is awesome. I think that'll help. But it's also, when you're young, it's hard to save money because you're not making the money that the older people are in their career. So I think Overton could be a great addition to our town. I just do not personally agree with what we have currently. Yes, there is. And I think South Haven's hit it right on the head. We've never reached our target audience. We've never hit the maximum number of short-term rentals. We're actually less now than we were when we started the program, which is interesting. So we're less rentals now. I think they're better managed now because you have to have a property manager or live within an hour to manage it. Before, you had people that could be in Colorado. And I'm sure there's some people who still go under the radar, which they shouldn't. But I think there's a number, and we have it set perfectly. The biggest fear you could get, outlaw all short-term rentals. Because you're not going to all of a sudden create more housing. What you're going to end up with, and this is the scary part, you're going to end up with a community that has empty homes 10 months out of the year. So now you are literally looking at complete blocks that are going to be completely dark and empty with no one living there except for night lights going on for majority of the year, which will greatly affect our downtown businesses. So a lot of our restaurants, everything they make in the summertime, they save and they give back to their employees in the wintertime so they can keep the doors open. So it's not like they're flush with cash all the time. Summertime's when everyone makes their money to get it through the wintertime. Now, South Haven's done an exceptional job of bringing people in the off season. We've got fall festivals, we got the holidays, and now New Year's has been really good. We have the beach ball drop and the fireworks, and then we have Icebreaker Fest. And we're doing more and more to keep people coming in throughout the year, and it's getting better because our rental numbers are showing people want to be here more. They may not want to live here yet, but they definitely want to come and visit for a long weekend in the off season. Summertime, everyone wants to be here. It's just fun. You can't go wrong. It's a lot to go look at. The answers are not always the easiest answers. And the monster in the room is not always the easiest one you can blame because it's there. I hate to say the saying, an onion, you have to go through layers, but you do. Getting rid of short-term rentals does not open up any housing. Not changing your zoning is what's going to cause us problems and has caused us problems. But there's room for it all. I believe South Haven's done a great job with our ordinance for rentals. It just needs to be adhered to, and it needs to make sure that it's followed. It's up to our property managers to make sure those rules are followed. Same with the owners that do it themselves. We have to remember that my neighbor is my neighbor, and I want to make sure that they're happy and that I'm happy with them and they're happy with me. We all live here together. We're one community. It's not divided. It's not us versus them. It's not second homeowner versus full-time. We're all part of this, and we have to get along. If not, South Haven is not going to get any better. We have to work together.